Shimmy Shaba Shambakakadash. Yo, the elites is playing the dirty game. Really, it's the Lord. And what's going to happen is, in the next year or so, they doing away with the middle class right now as we speak. So that's where you get the word mediator from. And that's where you get media from, because the media is used as an outlet for the elites to control the people. So the elites don't just come out and say do this and do that. They program you through the television, or tell a lie to your vision, right? They program you through the television for you to view things a certain way, for you to think a certain way. And so that's what the media is for, and they controlled that through Operation Mockingbird, where they took over all the stations, and they basically control what's out there based upon influence. And so the elites, they set up the middle class. So people always, when people were oppressed and stressed, they attacked the government. They tried to overthrow the government. And, Rome came up with the saying, get them bread in circuses and they would never revolt, which is what? Entertainment. And that's what people do. They rage, the talent, something out on a team, right? So, like, when the Knicks was playing the Spurs, if you went to New York with a Spurs jersey on, you more than likely got your ass whipped. When I was in Baltimore, you had the Mets. Players used to come down there from New York when they played the Orioles, and there was fights breaking out. And that basically programmed you idiots to go to war with each other, because people got that rebellion spirit. So they use sports as far as a way of war, especially amongst men. Yo, it's us versus them. Yeah, fuck y'all, man. Yeah. People die, get beat up and killed and shit over that shit. So, but another way the elites use, which is very clever, this man is the devil, and he's played a good job with being the devil. But another way, that's why I hate fucking sports, man. I watch it for entertainment, but I don't rock no motherfucking jerseys or have no fucking team or none of that shit. That, to me, that shit is dumb as hell. And that shit rigged anyway. That shit is lame as fuck to me. But anyway, the elites use also the middle class, which was a barrier from the poor to the rich. So the middle class has enough shit to not rebel, but the poor want to rebel. But a lot of times, who they rebel against? They rebel against the middle class, right? So they feel as though the reason I ain't got shit is not because of the elites. It's not because of the government. It's because these motherfuckers over here in the town next to me, they the rich. They got the BMWs. They got the fucking houses. They got the sports cars. They got the slingshots. They got the motorcycles. So people attack them. Let's go rob them. And that's a barrier for the poor directly attacking the elites. Because if it was just straight up rich and poor, the poor was like, yo, there's no other people in the middle to attack. So the middle class was set up as a barrier to prevent the poor from attacking or revolting against the powers that be, which is very clever. And they allowed the middle class. So one thing about the middle class, right? They would sell your future. They were basically you borrowing or selling your future or mortgaging your future finances to pay for your present and past. So basically they allow people to go in debt and enslave them to their desires, right? So basically you want a BMW. You never could afford that, never could buy that. But they're like, you know what? Due to your credit, you know, you could get this BMW. You know, oh, you want to live over here? Normally you can't afford to live over here. So, but, you know, we can make increments, payments in increments, and you could afford the payment or afford this car. Or, oh, you want that jewelry, you want that wedding ring, you know, you could finance it. You could finance a wedding ring. So all of your future money, all of your future finances is college. If you couldn't afford to go to college back in the day, you just didn't go. But now it's just like, yo, okay, you could go to college, but any future money you get, so now your house, your BMW, your jewelry you wear, your wedding ring, all of that shit is financed. You borrowed from your future and due to your desires. So the elites is very clever. They figured out how to enslave people based upon their desires. And to see if the scriptures tell us to conquer that shit like that. You know, the ways of the flesh, you know. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profit nothing. But you want to be with that woman, right? You want to marry her. You want to have a house. You want to have a kid. Then so it's something called lifestyle inflation. So your lifestyle inflates. The more money you get, the more your lifestyle inflates. The more shit you want. Because a lot of people think, oh, I make another 20, 30,000 per year after taxes. So you think, oh, I should have another 20, 30 G's every year. No. Your lifestyle, especially if you got a bitch, right? Your lifestyle is going to inflate. And if your woman ain't in order, most of them ain't. That's what I mean by a bitch. A nagging ass bitch that could, and what the Lord say? He that is married care for things of the world, how he may please his wife. So you're gonna finance iPhones. You're gonna finance or lease. You're gonna be leasing and financing vacations, iPhones, all of that shit, school, student loan debt. So when you look up, every dollar you own or make is owned to some entity to make payments. And that's what set up the middle class. They was allowed to look rich, you know, but they not actually rich. They just look rich. You know, they might live, you know, in Short Hills out here in Jersey, or they might live in like Livingston, right? Or they might live in these certain areas. Or you got the nigger woman. I see them all the time. Like, they got all these fucking accessories, you know, the jewelry, the rings, the Louis Vuitton, the Coach bags and shit. But they live in fucking North Newark somewhere. And you know, they got the fucking Benz truck and shit like that. So you like, yo, how the fuck? Like, that shit don't add up. But what happens is that promotes, so that's the lower middle class. Then you got the upper middle class. So the upper middle class, they have a little more than the lower middle class, but they is basically poor too. but they live in the illusion of being rich, but they have a little more than the lower middle class. Case in point, the lower middle class might have a 5 Series BMW or X5 BMW, the Beamer truck, right? The new shit. But the upper middle class might have a fucking a Range Rover, you know, the latest shit. So, but they both borrowing from their future and enslaving themselves to their desires. One just have a little bit more money than the other one do, right? So, which is very clever. So people enslave themselves to their desires, and if you could control their desires, you could enslave them. And that's how the elites run their modern day slavery, outside of the chains and the whips, right? But now the slavery is about to fucking change. They're gonna do away with the middle class. They not worried. So with their new technology and new system, they not worried about the people revolting. They got drones and shit that'll just wipe motherfuckers out. See, before people could gather and march on some shit, and the powers that be have a problem keeping them off and keeping them away. But they got the people so addicted to shit and so used to being a certain type of way that they not worried about them revolting. And what they doing is they getting rid of the middle class, period. It's just going to be rich and it's going to be poor. But not the poor you used to. This shit going to be, America's going to be like a third world country. Poor. It's not going to be like, you know, like you poor, your food, you got food stamps and shit, and you eating octopus. I went to this one spot, this little whiting spot, little fish spot or whatever. They didn't cook it, but while my fish getting ready, I look in the refrigerator, these motherfuckers got octopus in there. So, and they accept EBT, you know, family, you know, the food stamp cards and shit. So you got nigger women buying clams and shit. So you're gonna have it where resources, the good shit, is only gonna be like for the rich. If you got a car payment's gonna be over with. You know, they are, so right now they raising the shit. You know, the average car payment is like $700. If you got some new shit, or like, what is it, 26? You got a 25, 24, 26, your shit gonna be like $700-800 without the insurance. Insurance probably run you another $5, so that's rent for a lot of people. But that's not even rent no more, depending on where you live, because up here, when I came back to Jersey from Maryland, you know, I'm driving around and shit, like in Newark itself, like a 1-bedroom apartment is like fucking, a decent 1-bedroom apartment in a decent area is fucking like $1,900, $2,000. If you get one of these new shits, it's like $3,000. I went to Woodbridge, a little further down from here. This brother is paying like $3,500 for like a 2-bedroom apartment, $4,000, some shit like that. And he was just stressed out. And his woman, but he got a kid. Because I was talking to him, and I was, you know, one thing about our people, they not financially literate, you know. And I wasn't for a long time, you know what I mean? But it's just something that, like, we're not taught. And then the culture, the music and shit like that, it just fucks us up. But he got to keep his woman happy with that lavish apartment and keep his kid, or she gonna leave his ass. Because these women come out here, you know, they got a kid too. They going to survival mode, and they can't send their kid to summer camp or buy their kids little shit, and they see other children and other mothers and parents with shit and stuff like that, you know what I mean? They get fucking vengeful and scorned and vindictive, and they start to hate your ass and turn it up on you. You know, they can't take their kids to fucking Disneyland and fucking amusement parks and shit like that. They go into survival mode. And when a woman go into survival mode, because they the weaker vessels. So they not like us when we go into survival mode. You know, we go into survival mode, we make shit happen and done. But they not warriors. They not like, you know, go-getters, like survivalists, you know, stick-up kids, shit like that. So when they go into survival mode, they start to connive. They become more conniving, manipulative, and deceptive. And they start selling their box. They become adulterous and all of that shit. They go to the highest bidder. It's just their nature. So, as the elites, they keeping the wages the same, or they might bump it up a little bit. But everything everybody has to pay for is not adding up. And all of these cities, it's not just like a Babylon thing. This is like across seas, London, all these other cities, like the price it costs to live there. You can't afford to live there. And you think you're going to take the US dollar? A lot of people think this. I heard a nigga woman talking about she going to go move to Johannesburg. Like, bitch, you take the US dollar over there, you got a fucking couple of months. Because first of all, with the exchange rate, and Johannesburg is a major city in South Africa. It's like the New York of South Africa. You go over there with your little 30 grand, 50 grand and all that, you might buy yourself a little bit of time. And their economy ain't as vibrant as the Babylonian economy. You're going to find, so you might buy, so the elite's good at selling illusions. You go over there, you might buy yourself a year or so. Right? And then what? You're going to run out of that bread and you're going to face hardships. Just what? Just in another country. Now, the shit'll work if you came up in Babylon, you know, 2-3 million, and then went over there. But even then, you still got to have some type of financial discipline, or you fucked. You might last a little bit, you fucked. Because your worst enemy, which is your inner me, which is yourself, is going to want lifestyle inflation. You're going to want the new, especially when you're dealing with women. You're going to want to upgrade your life. You're going to naturally do that shit. You're going to start eating out more. You're going to start doing this more, doing that more, and doing this more. So after a while, Salakia, but I wanted to emphasize on that middle class and how, you know, people trying to waver out of it. It's only going to be the rich and the poor, like that movie Elysium. And you ain't going, the poor, you ain't going to be able to buy rich people shit, because poor motherfucker could go to Ruth Chris. Poor motherfucker could go to Red Lobster in these different places, Olive Garden, and you like, yo, how these motherfucking poor motherfuckers is able to eat and afford this shit? And some, you know, people got money get mad. You know what I mean? One chick, one of my relatives of mine deal with, she living in a building in New York, but they rented half out to like Section 8. And she live in a building with like rich people that's millionaires, and it's like poor and rich people living in the same building. And they mad at her because she got an apartment that could see the East River on one end, and then she could see the Hudson River on the west side on another window on her apartment. She got behind her like an ill-ass view. And it's just like, but all that shit gonna be taken away with. And that's why they raising shit. So you ain't eating no salmon. You ain't eating no, if you poor, your ass gonna eat cereal. Not even a good brand. You're gonna eat like knockoff brand cereal. You're gonna eat bologna sandwiches. You're gonna eat Kool-Aid, drink Kool-Aid. You're gonna, and that's gonna, the most poisonous shit gonna be available for the poor. And because the elites want to kill you anyway. And the poor is more abundant than the rich, like they say, is lonely at the top. If people see you with a car, if you got any car, it could be an old ass car, people gonna be like, man, you doing okay for yourself. Because America just gonna turn into like a third world country. Buying a house, see, car loans. It used to be a 5-year, not like a car payment, right? It used to be 60 months, 5 years till you pay it off, right? Now car payments is like 72 months, 84 months. $12 times 8, what's that? Yeah, well, 7 years, which is 84 months. So this, and it, not only that the car payments is longer, you enslaved to this car for 84 months, the payment, and the car bill, the note is higher. See, before it was 60 months for $250 a month, and your insurance, you got a good driving record, probably was $150. So that's like $500 a month for your car with the car payment regularly. Now the shit like touching $1,000, $1,200. Then you got maintenance and shit like that. I'm telling you, people not gonna be able to afford to have cars. If you ain't gonna be driving no motherfucking where. You're gonna be catching a bus, Ubering, if you lucky, walking, just like how people do in third world countries. You're gonna have to walk across town, 2 miles across town with a shopping cart and push that shit back. Cause cause they see what the elites doing with this NWO. They don't want movement anyway. You know what I mean? They want you people. They basically gonna turn your houses into like prisons. People gonna be home. They gonna be locked into the metaverse online and shit like that. There's gonna be less and less movement out here. What the Lord say? The door shall be shut in the street. Because it's really no reason to go outside anyway. Everybody deliver. A lot of work is from home. Remote work or hybrid work. You know, you want some shit from food, Uber Eats. You want, and if you order enough, the delivery is free. You want, wait till they got the drone deliveries and shit. You know, depending on how long the Lord had this place go. But this is how the elites playing this NWO. An order of the new, you want to go food shopping and shit, you order that shit from Walmart. You know? Everything is ordered. That shit come right to your house. You don't need to come outside for fucking nothing. Stay your ass in the house. It was this movie, I think it was called 2064. I forget the name of it. I might post it once while I look it up. It's this movie, and it showed, it was one of them sneak hits, and it showed Like people, everybody was like, when you go outside, you saw like drones and shit flying around, whatever. But like, you ain't see no people like that, like on the streets walking around. Everybody was like indoors. And if you check out these new kids, they don't go outside for fucking nothing. They don't even come out the fucking room. And school gonna be in your motherfucking, that same bedroom he's sleeping. It's gonna be a desk in the fucking corner. That's gonna be school. And that's what they did with the C-19. They was testing it out. Remote learning. Sit your ass in the corner, nigga, that's school. A lot of people wanted to do homeschool. Well, there you go. You got your homeschool. And they shutting these schools down anyway. They ain't giving them the funding. They ain't paying the teachers. They bellying all of this shit up. And life, you know it. Hey, that Onyx song. Hey, y'all check out that Onyx song, the beginning of The Last Days with Sticky Fingers. It's a new world order. And shit is about to fucking change. America's Nightmare. Young Black. Oh man, I'm about to bump that shit. And never giving a shit because we living in it. Man, that old Onyx, that shit went hard. But you know, them rappers be insiders and shit too. And he said when they first come on, y'all check that YouTube, that Onyx, The Last Days, and turn that motherfucker up. Listen to the beginning though. And he said it's shit about to change. And what? The shit is changing right before your eyes. And when this shit kind of going full spectrum, shit ain't gonna be, people think shit gonna be sweet. Shit ain't gonna be sweet. People, cars, you got cars and all that shit. Like, a lot of possessions and shit you got gonna get snatched and took it away. Because people not gonna, or people just gonna forfeit it. People not gonna be able to keep these things. Based off of, so basically you're going to get priced out. And that's what Esau do. You want to get niggas out of the community, stop accepting Section 8 in that neighborhood, and raise the rent. And you basically price niggas out. You push them out. Even with stocks, right? If they don't want the public buying a certain stock, they'll just raise it where you can't afford it, where the average person can't afford it, where you might could buy a piece of a share. And they just price you out. They push you out. So people are going to get, the middle class is just going to get priced out. So the middle class think they're going to be able to look like the rich. That shit going to be over with. And then the poor living like they middle class or they rich, that shit going to be over with. When you buy off of the UBI and all of that, universal basic income, when you buy certain things, I actually seen this with this relative of mine. It's something called the OTC card, right? And you only could buy certain items with that card. You can't just buy anything you want. They gotta be like OTC compatible. And the money don't go, if you gotta spend it that month, because when the next month comes, it disappears and it reloads. But you're only going to have access to certain things. And that's what the New World Order is about. Full control. Full control. And the ultimate full control is that MOTB. That C-hit. And that's going to be the nail in the motherfucking coffin. And with that, man, I'm out of here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. Brothers can meditate on that. But check out that Onyx, man. Check out that Onyx. The Last Days, Sticky Fingers. They went off on that shit. But Sticky Fingers dropped a little small message in the beginning, which was heavy. So check that out when y'all get a chance. Shalom. Shalom.